because I started filming and I didn't have any battery power, so I had to swap the batteries out. So hopefully everything is working now. All right, I do believe that everything is working, and I do believe that we are here for another Ring of Honor TV review episode number 109 to be exact. But before we talk about the 109th episode of Ring of Honor on Honor Club, we have a major announcement to talk about, and it should be in the title of this video. Last week, if you watched my Ring of Honor TV review at the end and throughout the whole review, I was questioning, when the hell are they going to announce Supercard of Honor? Are they going to announce Supercard of Honor? And the next day, it was then announced that Supercard of Honor will be taking place May the 2nd in Atlantic City, New Jersey, on Honor Club. And then the next night, they'll be filming there for an episode of Collision. So, Supercard of Honor has been announced. That was what I was asking for. That's what we've been asking for and hoping for. So, I'm glad that it's taken place. There is a bit of me that is upset that it is not WrestleMania weekend. But to be honest, in the eyes of AEW/Ring of Honor, that doesn't really matter to them. They probably are tired of dealing with it being WrestleMania weekend and want to create it in its own environment, which is understandable. And I feel like this might get questioned at the post-show scrum. Why was this not WrestleMania weekend and whatnot? But again, in the grand scheme of things, that doesn't really matter to them. I will say, side note, for me personally, I had something cool planned in our retro review series, and long story short, I was going to review an old Supercard of Honor the week of WrestleMania because I thought, oh, that would be the week of Supercard of Honor as well. But now I'm pushing it back. So we will still get that review. It would just be a couple of weeks later. So all in all, I'm glad that we're getting Supercard of Honor. It is May the 2nd. So we are officially on the road to Supercard of Honor. And we have this episode of ROH to talk about. And as always, a lot happens. So let's get right into it. These two men on the left have been Ring of Honor Tag Team Champions for, I'm not going to say almost a year now, but they won them in July, August of last year, and they're still the damn champions. And they compete tonight, so that's why you're seeing them on the screen here. And two Dark Orders members compete in this episode as well, so that's why I chose this matchup. I know it's a bit obscure, but all in all, it checks out. So let's talk about episode 109 of ROH on Honor Club. We kick it off with Athena in the backstage area with Diamante telling her that tonight is important and tonight is her initiation into MIT. She doesn't really appreciate her trying to boss her way and demand her way into it, so she's going to have to earn it. And while this is happening, Billy Starks appears and is like, hey, you know, do you remember me? Do you care about me? Those aren't her exact words, but that's what she was kind of insinuating. And Athena was saying, hey, we don't really need you tonight. Go mind your meddle in someone else's business, because she's been competing a lot in AEW competition as of late, including a big TBS title match. So later on, Athena will be teaming up with Diamante. But before we get to that, we have our opening contest tonight, Dark Panther versus Okamura. We get an immediate chop and elbow battle between the two to start the match, with Okamura taking it to the outside, and once back in the ring, Dark Panther lands a 619. This is followed by a crossface attempt that is broke up by grabbing the ropes. Panther follows this up with a trio of dives to the outside, and once back in the ring, wins the matchup off of a small package, and it gets a 3 count. And Okamura is not impressed by this. It doesn't even oblige in the code of honor afterwards. So Dark Panther picks up the victory after losing in his TV title opportunity last week. Now, we have a big matchup taking place. We have the MxM Collection and Johnny TV facing the Sons of Texas and Willie Mack. The Sons of Texas are Dustin Rhodes and Sammy Guevara. I did say that I'm not a big fan of that tag team name, but they've been a tag team for a long time now, so I've gotten used to it. Mack and TV start the match off, but frequent tags are made early. This leads to MxM double teaming on Dustin, with the referee's back being turned, including both of them shoving their butts into Dustin's face at the same time. I didn't expect to say that sentence, but I did it. And they also hit a sidewalk slam leg drop combo. Sammy tags in and delivers a dive to the outside later on. Mack lands a stunner on Mansoor, with a Canadian Destroyer being landed by Dustin onto Johnny TV. Dustin then delivers the Shattered Dreams to Mansoor, with the referee saw it being set up and kind of was like, you know what, he turned his back, and it wasn't really supposed to be intentional, but, normally this spot, you can't do it, but he did it any damn ways. Johnny then delivers a Shining Wizard to Mack after he hit a standing moonsault, but Sammy sneaks up behind Johnny TV, deliver the GTH, and pick up the victory, but they do not get to celebrate for long because MxM and Johnny attack them and steal one singular 6-man tag team title. So I guess we're doing this saga again with Johnny TV being added into the mix. And at least with Dustin, he has 2 championships. Sammy only had the 1. So at least Dustin still has 1 title. Why they also didn't, I was about to say something extremely head-ass. I'm like, I don't know why they didn't take the other 6-man tag titles. I know why, because the Von Erichs were not here, which this also just might be me being a little bit salty that they very rarely appear and or defend these titles. Why? They brought these titles back for that big moment last year, which is fine and dandy, but all in all, these titles are not defended as much, so maybe this is the setup for that. I'm sorry that this went on a tangent, but it kind of threw me for a loop. Now, we get to Athena and Diamante teaming up to take on Jordan Blue and Maserati, with the Maserati and Diamante starting the match off, and it was not really much of a tag team match because Diamante dominated over Maserati and knocks Jordan Blue off of the apron, and she's trying to impress Athena and being very aggressive throughout the match, but she does allow Athena to tag in to hit the big forearm, and Athena and Diamante win this matchup. Speaking of tag team action, we get highlights from Taya Valkyrie and Lady Frost competing last weekend in a CMLL tag team tournament. Why it wasn't Taya Valkyrie's tag partner Deonna Purrazzo, I don't really know. They didn't really specify. I don't think it matters that much, but they did have an impressive showing, but I didn't see them having any titles, so I don't think that they won. And we have another big announcement that hopefully I will enjoy the outcome too. But last week on Collision, we'll see if Brody breaks this pin up. Last week on Collision, Chris Jericho called out Bandito, and it ended up with Bandito stealing back the mask of his brother, Gravity, and Jericho's not that happy about this. And so on Dynamite, he challenged Bandito to a big match at AEW Dynasty. It will be Jericho's Ring of Honor World Championship for Bandito's mask. So a title versus mask match at Dynasty. And I would love to be in a world where Bandito keeps his mask. And if that happens, that means that he'd be the Ring of Honor World Champion as well, which I would love that even more. So we got a week and some change left because Dynasty is April 6th. A quick turnaround from Revolution, but our ROH title match is scheduled to take place. So there is that. Now, we have a tag team matchup between the Premier Athletes, Tony Nese and Ari Daivari, versus the Dark Orders, Alex Reynolds and Evil Uno, with the Frat House watching in the front row. There's no code of honor to start this match off, and this leaves Reynolds and Nese being the first 2 legal competitors, as all men started the match off with a brawl. And early on, Reynolds gets trapped in his opponent's corner, but once Uno tags in, he lands a double DDT. Reynolds lands a dive to the outside, and at this point, oh my goodness, at this point in the match, Uno kind of disappears. He gets attacked by the Premier Athletes, but they don't even show the camera on him. He's not seen for the rest of this match, which kind of spoils what happens. But while on the outside, Reynolds is confronting the Frat House. He even throws Tony Nese into their direction. And then at one point, the referee has his back turned, with Vance jumping the guardrail and hitting a spine buster on Reynolds in the ring, which sets up Ari Daivari to hit a frog splash, and we get a big Premier Athletes victory, which has been a while since that's happened, so I guess good for them. Now, we have a segment that I did not really expect. It's a little bit of an obscure segment, because mainly it was set up on an AEW pre-show. And where the hell it takes us, we shall see. But Paul Walter Hauser, who I will admit to you, I know that he's an actor, but I don't think I have seen anything that he's in, and I've seen more of his wrestling stuff and his wrestling knowledge than his acting career. So I apologize for not being familiar with his game, quote unquote. But he was on TMZ, and he is confronting QT Marshall and talking about this incident with QT Marshall at Revolution where they were arguing, and QT threw a drink at him, and he would later learn that it was alcohol, and he did not like that because he's been sober for several years. So he's very pissed off at QT Marshall and wants to kick his ass. And QT Marshall is interviewed by Renee Paquette, who was there and is the host of these pre-shows and saw the incident happen, and asked QT, why'd you do it? What's your response to all this? And QT says that Paul Walter Hauser needs to come to his face, and he might get what he wants. So with this happening, with this segment happening on ROH, I feel like there's going to be an ROH story now, even though it's a bit obscure. Hell, it might happen at the Dynasty 0 hour. Let those two battle it out there. But an interesting transaction of events here that is what it is. Now, we have a very good matchup up next. It involves Viva Van versus Queen Amanada. We get armbar tips from both early on, and then we get a massive big boot by Amanada and a nice spinning heel kick by Van. We get a big crossbody and slams to the mat by Van afterwards. Both of them then stand up for a thunderous chop battle, with Amanada getting the advantage from that point, also landing a big forearm and running knee to pick up the victory. Now, this was a good match, like I said. I'm sorry that I'm not going to say I'm going to overshadow it, but I will say this, because I researched it. ROH episode 103. This was the episode on the Jericho Cruise. There is a backstage segment between Queen Amanada and Serena Deeb, where Serena Deeb challenged Amanada to a Pure Rules match next week. And if you notice what number I said, episode 103, that match has still not happened. And, sometimes I forget things, and sometimes they throw ideas and project things to happen and then expect people to forget about it. I don't really know why I haven't forgotten about this. But this match, like I said, has not happened. So I'm not really expecting it to happen, but I didn't forget. As now, something that is kind of unforgettable is our main event matchup. CMLL Trios action. Once again, we've been having this for the past month or so. But this matchup involves Volador Jr., Rugido, and Barbaro Cavernario, who was in one of these first matchups, and I struggled to say his name then, but I think I've said it a little bit better now. But they're taking on the team of former Ring of Honor TV champion Atlantis Jr., Titan, and Fuego. All the competitors start the match off early. We get lots of hurricanranas and head scissors by Atlantis Jr. Then after this, Titan is triple teamed by his opponents, following later with Fuego and Atlantis Jr. having the same treatment taking place, who Atlantis Jr., Barbaro, even bites and starts ripping at his mask. Then we see dives by Titan and Fuego, with Atlantis and Barbaro being the last two left in the ring, and they battle and chop each other several times, with Atlantis getting the advantage at that point. And Atlantis Jr. finishes the match off with a Canadian Destroyer and Frog Splash to pick up the win for his team and end this episode of Ring of Honor on Honor Club. All in all, an okay episode. Nothing that crazy happened. I'm trying to review my notes. We kind of got some storyline progression, and that's needed because we have a pay-per-view coming up now, and we can finally start marketing and promoting and hyping that up. So, again, like I said, I'm excited for Supercard of Honor. We have AEW Dynasty next weekend. This match has also went on this whole time, which is kind of the purpose to do a tag team match. That way I don't have to worry about changing the matchup, because the tag team system in this game is not the greatest. So if y'all want to know who wins, I'll keep watching it, and I'll comment it down below, unless it ends right here. Which that would have been a terrible finish to this. I love how, he just couldn't. There's a guy in front of him, and he's just able to slide right past him. And then that double teaming on Sammy. So if y'all want to know who wins, I'll tell y'all in the comments down below. Hopefully you enjoyed this video, and you are along with us on this journey to Supercard of Honor. So I do appreciate y'all for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, and all that stuff. And I'll see y'all when I see y'all, because I'm out for now. Goodbye.